So previously, Jaraji explained on 4 definitions of kusala. And Jaraji also explained that by combining with practice, kind of result one will get. So Jaraji explained what he could. So in practicing, accumulating wholesomeness that has these qualities, if one is negligent in accumulating wholesomeness, if one is negligent, if one fails to note respectfully, meticulously, without stopping, then there will be pamada. So one should practice respectfully, meticulously, without any stopping, without gaps in between, so that there will be apamada. So there is still a lot to be explained about refined form of pamada. But as Jaraji was explaining about jhana, Jaraji will continue to explain on jhana. So vipassana jhana, in order to gain vipassana jhana, one needs to observe and be mindful of whatever object that arises, so that one will gain concentration, collectedness of mind. So to know the mind and matter, nama and rupa, distinctly, so to have knowledge stage by stage, one needs to aim the mind towards the object. So aiming of the mind towards the object is called vitakka. And when the mind is aimed towards the object, the noting mind will rub onto the object. So rubbing of the noting mind onto the object is called vichara, and the noting will be effective. So at the beginning of the practice, yogi should practice so as to aim the mind towards the object and put effort. At the stage of samasana jnana, when vipassana knowledge starts to develop, the noting will be effective, and the yogi will come to see impermanence, suffering, and non-self. So at this stage, it is beginning of vipassana jnana, and as the yogi continues to practice, yogi gains skill in the practice. So Jaraji gives an example. When shooting a dart or arrow, one has to practice so that one will hit the target, the bull's eye. So at the beginning, the person who shoots will be shooting on the circles which are outside of the bull's eye or the target. But as the player gains skillfulness, as the player gains skill in shooting, she will hit the target without having to aim the target especially. So just as when the player becomes skillful, she will be shooting the target, the bull's eye, without to aim for the target especially. In the same way, when the yogi gains skill in the practice, when the yogi becomes skillful, the noting mind will get to the object of meditation. The noting mind will hit the object of meditation without having to aim for especially. So the noting mind will hit onto the object and the noting will gain momentum. So the momentum of mindfulness is so great that among the three moments, arising, present and dissolution, among these three moments, the middle part, the moment of presence leading to the dissolution, is not prominent to the yogi anymore. So at this stage, yogi sees arising and passing away in a complete flux, the old giving rise to new, ever arising and passing away of these objects. So whatever object the yogi is noting, she sees the fast arising and passing away of these objects. So at this stage, it is the beginning of the vipassana jnana. So what is special is that yogi does not have to aim especially on the object, but the noting mind automatically falls onto the object without having to put too much effort. And at this stage, the effort of the yogi becomes pagaha, and his or her effort will gain momentum. So at the beginning of the practice, yogi had to initiate the effort, but this effort gains momentum that it will become pagaha. Pagaha means the momentum of effort does not fall, the effort does not deteriorate, it does not stagnate in the middle, but the effort will be persistent and uplifting. So at this stage, mindfulness is not casual, mindfulness is not ordinary anymore. It will become from upatita to supatita. The mindfulness will be firmly established on the object of meditation. So just as the sati mindfulness is strong, the mind will be calm and collected. Amazingly, there will be collectedness of mind. Yogi can experience illumination, joy and tranquility. And at this stage, the yogi becomes satisfied and happy with the practice. So today, Sayadaw will explain the taste of Dharma. At this stage, Sayadaw will not explain in detail, but Sayadaw will be explaining so that yogi can compare their experience to the theory. So by practicing respectfully, meticulously, without stopping, with noting with aim and effort, then the yogi comes to see the nama rupa, mind and matter, and cause and effect. And also, yogi comes to see the impermanence as the object arises and passes away. And yogi also comes to understand that it is tormenting, ever tormenting by arising and passing away, so that it is suffering. And also, things are happening in their own accord. So understanding these characteristics of impermanent suffering and non-self, it is the beginning of vipassana jnana, beginning of insight knowledge. So these characteristics, impermanent suffering and non-self, will be understood. There will be paccaka jnana, discerning these characteristics with experiential knowledge, seeing them clearly and vividly. So yogi comes to inference that in the past also things were impermanent, suffering, non-self. In the future it will be the same. So just as things are impermanent, suffering and non-self in oneself, also in other people it will be the same. So in this way there will be thinking and reflection. There will be a lot of vitaka and vichara present, and there will be anumana jnana, knowledge by inference, and it is very usual at this stage of the practice. So if there are a lot of reflections like that, it will be getting on his or her way, and one will be failing to note the presently arising object. So that's why it is not good if one is reflecting so much. So at that stage, the meditation teacher will encourage the yogi to note whatever object that arises. The teacher will say, your practice is okay, keep on noting whatever object that arises. So as the yogi keeps on noting whatever object that arises, reflection, thinking will become less and less. The noting will become more effective. So noting the presently arising object, there will be less reflection about the practice, and the mind will automatically fall onto the object without having to aim especially. So at this stage there will be almost no reflection or thinking. At the beginning of the practice, it will be it will be equivalent to the first jhana, having 5 jhanic factors, vitaka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata present. But at this stage of the practice will not be thinking or reflection, and yogi will not have to aim for the target especially, but the noting will be effective. And at this stage, yogi sees fast arising and passing away of the object, the old object giving rise to new. There will be arising of the object at one moment and quickly pass away. So at this stage, yogi becomes skillful in noting every small, minute object. So the yogi becomes skillful that she can even note small, minute objects. So when this happens, yogi becomes satisfied with his or her noting, and the viriya will become arata viriya. There will be diligent effort. So at this stage, there can be 10 imperfections of vipassana. In Pali it is called vipassanupakilesa, 10 imperfections of insight. So this will happen to yogis who are practicing systematically, meticulously, but for those who are not practicing systematically, who are just thinking, daydreaming, imagining, practicing haphazardly without much effort. So for these kind of yogis, they will not get to the stage. But for those who practice systematically, boosting up the effort, from initial effort, boost up effort, boosting up the effort stage by stage, viriya, effort, will gain momentum. So only to such yogi, the practice will gain momentum, and she will have the knowledge of fast arising and passing away of objects. So there are 10 imperfections of insight. The first one is obhasa, illumination. Second one is jnana, clear-cut knowledge. And the third one is piti, joy. And the fourth one is passaddhi, tranquility of the mind and the body. And the fifth one is sukha, happiness and comfort. The sixth one is adhimokkha, a firm decision. It's a kind of saddha, firm saddha. And the seventh one is pakaha. It means persistent effort, persistent and uplifting effort. It's called pakaha. And the eighth one is upatthana, closely established mindfulness. The mindfulness that sticks onto the object, mindfulness that arises continuously, just like a stream of current. And the ninth one is upekkha, equanimity, which is a state of balance of the mind. And the 10th one is nikkandi. It's a very refined form of attachment, very refined form of craving. So these 10 are called vipassanuppakilesa, 10 imperfections of insight. But among the 10, the 9 are not actually the impurity of insight. But when the first 9 arises, the yogi can be mistaken for supramundane knowledge. So when first 9 of these arise, the yogi misunderstand them as supramundane knowledge. But the 10th one, nikkandi, the refined form of craving, refined form of attachment, is actually vipassanuppakilesa. It is the impurity or imperfection of insight. But the first 9 are called vipassanuppakilesa. They are special experiences, but when seeing such special experiences, yogi becomes mistaken for the yogi thinks she is gaining supramundane knowledge. So that's why yogi can misunderstood them as supramundane knowledge. That's why the first 9 are called vipassanuppakilesa. And the 10th one, nikkandi, is actually the real imperfection of insight. So to which kind of yogi these imperfections can arise is that the person whose mind is obsessed with distraction concerning with the Dhamma, she will have such imperfection. So when the vipassana jnana, insight knowledge, starts to develop, viriya, sati, samadhi, concentration, mindfulness, effort, mindfulness and concentration will gain momentum, and the person will see fast rising and passing away. She will understand that it is suffering always being tormented by arising and passing away. And also, she comes to understand that things are happening in their own accord. So when this understanding, when this knowledge about these characteristics of impermanent suffering and non-self arises, when this knowledge develops, then the mind becomes pure and clean. And due to this pure, clean mind, the blood in this yogi, the blood in the body will become purified. There will be good blood circulation, and the blood will be purified, so there will be illumination. As much the vipassana is strong, the more illuminated it will become. So, if the yogi is thinking about this illumination, that it is that, I am gaining, I am developing special knowledge. So if the yogi is thinking about his or her good experience, such as illumination, then the noting mind no more sticks onto the object. So the noting mind will be distant from the object. The noting mind will be distant from the object. The noting mind and the object, there will be gap between the noting mind and the object. So it is called uddhacca, distraction. And because this distraction has to do with special experience in the practice, it is called dhammuddhacca. And when the yogi is captivated by this dhammuddhacca, when the yogi's mind is captivated by this distraction concerning with the Dhamma, then she does not see the impermanent suffering and non-self clearly anymore, because she is thinking, having lots of thoughts about the good experiences, such as illumination and so on. So if this happens, if the yogi is thinking about his or her good experience, then the noting mind will be distant from the object of meditation. There will be gap between the noting mind and the object. So she is captivated, his or her mind is obsessed with dhammuddhacca. And such kind of yogi will have this imperfection of insight. So, at this stage of the practice, the illumination can be around where the yogi is sitting, or the whole building, or it can also be 1 mile, as the illumination can reach as far as 1 mile. So for Buddha's illumination can reach even many universes. But Sayadaw does not mean to say about Buddha, but what he meant was, as much the mind is pure and clean, the more illuminated, the more illumination will be. So at this stage, when there is illumination, the yogi can mistaken that she had attained supramundane knowledge. So if the person misunderstands this as supramundane knowledge, she is off the track. So she has deviated from the right path. If the yogi understands that this is not true, this is not supramundane knowledge yet, if the yogi continues to practice according to the guidance of the teacher, then his or her knowledge will become strong. She will realize fast rising and passing away of the object, so there will be momentum in the practice. His or her knowledge will become tikina, very sharp and very precise. And there will be sura, so his or her knowledge will be advanced. It will not draw back, but his or her knowledge will be very active and very advanced. And it will become ati visata, the knowledge will be very clear cut. So just as when you cut with a sharp knife, when you cut cucumber with a very sharp knife, then it will be nicely cut. So in the same way, the knowledge becomes very sharp, very precise, very advanced, and very clear cut at this stage of the practice, that the yogi can note even minute details. As the yogi becomes skilled in noting, the noting mind will get to the object without having to aim for especially. So when the yogi becomes very skilled in the practice, he, she gains satisfaction, joy. So this kind of joy is concerning with vipassana. It is called vipassana piti, joy and happiness, joy concerning with vipassana. So it is not like the kind of happiness one gains from worldly sensual pleasure, but this kind of piti has to do with vipassana jnana. So when the yogi becomes very skillful and proficient in the practice, he, she gets goose flesh. So in the beginning of the practice also, he, she can get goose flesh, and it is minor kind of piti. And at times there can be like an electric current flowing in the body. It is khanika piti. It is momentary or instantaneous joy. And when Aukandika piti arises, yogi feels his or her body is covered with a thin layer of something. And when Upekkha piti arises, yogi feels levitating, yogi feels floating in air. And prana piti means the kind of piti pervading the whole body that yogi does not even want to open his or her eyes. So at this stage, yogi feels very comfortable. There can be springy feeling, very good feeling. So these are the kind of joy, piti one can experience during the stage of insight. There is so much to be talked about piti, joy. The yogi who practices respectfully, meticulously, he, she will have great waves of piti, such that even the eye automatically opens. So the yogi closes again, and the eye opens itself again. So later on, yogi just keep the eye open because it keep on opening itself automatically. So this happens when the yogi is developing Upekkha piti and prana piti, so much so that his or her eyes could not be closed back. And at this stage, the yogi feels very comfortable, very springy and comfortable. And there will be passaddhi, tranquility of the mind and the body. It is called vipassana passaddhi, the kind of tranquility that arises due to vipassana. So whether it is day or night, whether during sitting meditation or walking meditation, whatever she is noting becomes very fast, and she realizes fast arising and passing away. And the body and the mind will be tranquil. The mind will be free from any regret, remorse or restlessness, but there will be tranquility in both, in the mind and the body. At this stage, there will be no heaviness, but the yogi feels very light. There will not be any gross or rough objects, but it becomes very soft and supple. And the practice becomes very smooth, without any difficulty, without hindrances. Even though the yogi was going to do 1 hour sitting, but she ends up doing 2 or 3 hours of sitting meditation in a stretch. So the practice becomes very smooth, and at this stage, yogi becomes very straight or upright with his or her mind. So his or her mind becomes very straight, and whatever she had wrong in the past, she confesses to his or her teacher. So at this stage, yogi becomes very straight and honest. There will not be any mana, conceit, covering the wrongdoings that she had done in the past, but she will reveal what she had done wrong in the past, so she will confess. So at this stage, yogi becomes very honest, and when the yogi is supported and uplifted with his passaddhi, tranquility and so on, yogi experiences the kind of joy, the kind of Dhamma pleasure, Dhamma joy that no other human or deva kind of pleasure can match. So this kind of Dhamma pleasure excels so many times than the worldly, human or deva pleasure. So at this stage, the notings are fast and continuous, that kilesa defilements have no chance to arise. So when this happens, the kind of defilements which are similar to the defilements that had arisen in the past will be overcome, and the defilements which can arise whenever there is opportunity, the kilesa also does not have any chance to arise. So when this happens, the sobhana or beautiful mental state will arise. The mental state that beautifies the mind, which are called sobhana, beautiful mental states, will arise. So Sayadaw will later explain on it. So when one is developing piti and passaddhi, it is just like the verse, Sonyakaram pavitassa upasandasa bhikkhuno amanusi rati hoti samadana vipassato. Yato yato samasati khandana udiyapaya lapati piti pamauchan amatata vichanata. It means that when the person goes to a secluded, quiet place and practices continuously, noting whatever nama rupa objects that arises, noting them continuously, his or her mind will become sanda citta. It means that the mind will not be agitated by raga or dosa. The mind does not get agitated by lust or anger or hatred or ill will, but the mind will be calm and peaceful. And thus, samadhi, concentration, will develop. And just as samadhamma vipassato, when the yogi is being mindful, noting systematically, and when the noting becomes continuous and fast, she will gain happiness that excels so many times than the worldly kind of happiness. So it is said that amanusi rati hoti, the kind of happiness, excels many times than the deva happiness and the worldly happiness. So at this stage, his or her mind and the knowledge will become developed, that she will gain unrelinquishable, unique kind of happiness. And his or her knowledge will gain momentum. So it is guaranteed that such kind of happiness, such kind of comfort and pleasure will arise at the stage of Uddiyabaya Jnana. So yato samasati means when the yogi is noting the presently arising object with effort, when the yogi gets to the stage of insight into fast arising and passing away, at this stage, she will experience his minor joy as well as the stronger joy. So at this stage, it is said that yogi has gained Amrita Dhamma. It is said that the yogi has gained the deathlessness. But actually, at this stage, it is not true, it is not genuine deathlessness yet. But if the yogi continues to practice, then she can attain the deathlessness. So at this stage of Uddiyabaya Jnana, even though it is not true deathlessness, if the yogi continues to practice, she will get to the state of deathlessness. When the yogi sees the fast arising and passing away of the object, she gains unique kind of happiness. She will feel light both in the mind and the body, and also his or her mind and body will become very tranquil. There will be tranquility. So in this way, Sobhana Cetasika, the beautiful mental states, will develop. Beautiful mental states such as Saddha, faith and confidence, the serene faith, trusting faith will develop, and Sati, mindfulness, become extraordinary. There will be Hiri Ottappa, moral shame and moral fear, that the yogi will feel shame and fear even to note a single noting. So the yogi pays more attention in the practice. Yogi pays more attention in the practice with moral shame and moral fear. There will be alobha, lack of greed, adosa, lack of anger, ill will. There will be lightness, malleability, proficiency, efficiency, and so on. So these beautiful mental states will arise amazingly. And at this stage, there will be vipassana sukha. There will be happiness, comfort as a result of vipassana. So at this stage, yogi feels comfort, which is irresistible, So Jaraji gives an example. When a person enters an air-conditioned room, after walking in the sun, she feels irresistible with the cool air. So in the same way, at this stage of the practice, yogi feels very cooling and comfort that is irresistible. And there will be a dimokha. A dimokha means decision, but actually it is saddha, faith and confidence, that is connecting, associating with vipassana. So at this stage, both the mind and the mental state will be clear, serene, and the faith and confidence is very strong that there will be serenity in the mind, amazingly. So from serene faith, one also has faith and confidence on the practice. One also has faith and confidence on the benefit of the practice. One gains faith and confidence on the Buddha who invented to have benefit of Satipatthana, who benefits the Satipatthana way in order to gain benefit. So in this way, yogi develops faith and confidence on the Buddha, and she believes that by following this method, they are ones who attain supramundane knowledge by following this path. So it is not the kind of belief that one has persuaded, the other person has persuaded, but it is one's true knowledge, one's own knowledge gained through practice, and it is really precious. And there will be pakaha. Pakaha means viriya, effort. And this effort is associating with vipassana. And this viriya, this effort is said to be supakahita, which means very balanced. So there will not be laxity, slackness, laziness, or in a very cool manner. There will not be such thing. And also, there is not over-eagerness. So the effort is balanced. That the effort neither deteriorates nor stagnates in the middle, but the viriya is persistent and uplifting. And the sati becomes upachita. So when seeing the fast arising and passing away of the object, the mindfulness becomes supatita. It means the mindfulness is not casual or ordinary kind, but it is firmly established mindfulness that is sustained on the object in a very firm way. So the sati is very firm and strong, just as when the stone, a big stone, is on the ground, it is very firm and stable without shaking. And when a big steel ball is on the ground without shaking, it is very firm. So in the same way, at this stage of the practice, the sati is very firm and strong. When whatever the mind is directed to, whatever object the mind is directed to, the object becomes very obvious and prominent to the yogi, as if seeing with one's own eye. So the mindfulness becomes very strong, just like having a diva chakku, just like having a divine eye, so that the sati is very strong and firm. among the Passaddhi group, there is Ujuka, uprightness or straightforwardness. So at this stage, the yogi's mind and the body also become very straight. So before practice, one usually hides one's wrongdoings and mistakes. And when doing mistakes, one is lenient with oneself. And that could be Maya, pretending to be faultless, pretending to be innocent. And there can be Sateya, pretending to have virtue which one doesn't have. But at the stage of Uddiyabhaya Jnana, the person becomes honest. She becomes very straight and honest. The nature of people is that when one does good things, when she does good things, she exaggerates, and one try to hide one's weakness and wrongdoing. But at this stage of Uddiyabhaya Jnana, yogi becomes very straight and very honest, and she confess and admit his or her wrongdoing to the teacher as well as others. So if there are many people who practices meditation, who practices Satipatthana in this world, there will be more and more honest people. And there will be upekkha, equanimity. The mind will be balanced. There will not be excessiveness of either saddha or panya, faith or knowledge. So that the saddha and panya, faith and knowledge, will be balanced. And also viriya and samadhi, effort and concentration, will also be balanced. Especially whenever the object arises, one will not reflect what it is, but the mind will automatically penetrate on the object that arises. So there will be avijjanupekkha. The mind will automatically penetrate onto the object. And the last one is nikkandi, attachment or craving. But the yogi is attached not on the rough objects, but yogi becomes attached in good experiences of the practice. So this nikkandi, this attachment, is very refined and very delicate. It is called vipassana nikkandi, the attachment that can arise relating to vipassana. So when the yogi experiences illumination, joy, tranquility, when the yogi has these good experiences, the yogi can become attached without the yogi's knowing. So it is so refined that it does not seem like kilesa defilement. It is so refined that it doesn't seem like kilesa defilement. But this nikkandi is a true vipassanupekkha. It is a true imperfection of insight. The first 9 are called upekkilesa because if the yogi experiences the first 9, yogi can be mistaken, yogi can misunderstood as supramundane knowledge. That's why the first 5 are called upekkilesa. But the last one, nikkandi, the attachment or the craving, is the real vipassanupekkha. It is the real imperfection of insight. So it means that at the stage of Uddiyabhaya Jnana, There can be special experiences, good experiences. So these can happen at the tender stage of Uddiyapaya Jnana. And at this stage, the jhana factor, Vitakka and Vichara, are not obvious anymore, but the three, Piti, Sukha and Ekaggata, these jhana factors are more prominent during this Uddiyapaya Jnana. So at this tender stage of Uddiyapaya Jnana, these three jhana factors, Piti, Sukha and Ekaggata, are prominent, and it is equivalent to Dutiya jhana, second jhana. So today, Sayadaw wanted to finish all 10 Vipassana Kilesa. That's why there was half an hour more than the usual. So Sayadaw, thank you for listening with patience. Sayadaw is glad that you listen with patience on this 1.5 hour talk. Sadhu, sadhu.